There's a cage most traders never see, and the scariest part is they're the ones who lock the door. It's not made of steel. It's not in your broker's interface. It's built from borrowed expectations, copied strategies, and someone else's dreams. It looks like a trading system you read on Twitter. It sounds like the YouTuber you binge watch every night. And it beats with the anxious pulse that hits you every time you enter a trade you don't fully understand. Now imagine you're a fighter, thrown into the ring wearing armor that doesn't fit, gloves not made for your hands, and rules written by someone else. You can train all you want, but every punch throw a punch against yourself. But every punch thrown is a punch against yourself. That's how most traders are trading. They're not executing, they're mimicking, they're not learning, they're punishing themselves. And they're not failing because the market is too hard. They're failing because the system they're using was never meant for them. I've been that trader. I've woken up at 3 a.m. to stare at a chart pattern I didn't even believe in. I felt the rush of a win I didn't understand, and the emptiness that followed when I realized I had no idea why it worked. I once built the perfect strategy, but it was the perfect strategy for someone else. Until one day, staring at a bleeding account, I finally saw the truth. I didn't need a new strategy, I needed a mirror. Because here's the hard truth. There's no best system. There's only the system that fits you like skin. The one that doesn't make you panic when you're down. The one that doesn't drain you every time the market fakes out. The one built from your psychology, your rhythm, your scars, your nature. This video won't teach you how to be a genius. It will take you deeper to see the invisible cage you're stuck in, to unlearn the rules that were never yours, and finally to build a system that feels like home. No more chasing setups, no more forcing trades, just you and a system that was made for you by you. If you've ever felt like you're playing else's game, you're playing someone else's game, if you've wondered why the same strategy works for others but breaks you down, then it's time to break the cage and build the system that actually fits. We begin right now. Welcome to the place where your trading finally fits you. This isn't another channel shouting about signals, hacks, or holy grails. This is where we break the cage. You won't find the best strategy here. You'll find your strategy built from your rhythm, your psychology, your truth. If you've ever felt like you're trading someone else's system, if you've blown accounts not from lack of effort, but from misalignment, then this is your turning point. Here, we combine deep psychology, real strategy, and identity-driven execution. No noise, no ego, just sustainable mastery. This is more than trading. This is where you become the system. Welcome to your edge. You don't have a trading problem, you have a you problem. Let's start with something uncomfortable. If you're constantly switching systems, chasing entries, blowing accounts, or getting stuck in that endless loop of overtrading and second guessing, the market isn't the problem. Your strategy isn't the problem. You are the problem. And that's not an insult, it's a diagnosis. Because unless you're willing to face this truth, nothing else will change. The illusion of the trading problem. Most traders walk into this game looking for the same thing. A strategy that wins, a setup that works, a hack that finally makes it all click. So what do? They go system hunting. They download PDFs, subscribe to Discords, copy indicators off YouTube videos, and pile on layers and layers of external tools, hoping one of them will finally solve the market. But here's what no one tells you. Even the best system in the world will fail if it doesn't align with the person using it. Because a system isn't just rules. It's a mirror. It reflects your attention span, your emotional tolerance, your beliefs about risk, control, and identity. And if you're constantly breaking your own rules, it's not because your system is too weak. It's because it was never built for you to begin with. Case study, 2 traders, same strategy, opposite results. Let me give you a real-world example. 2 traders, same mentor, same market, same exact trading system. One grows a 5-figure account into 6 figures in 12 months. The other burns through capital, loses confidence, and quits. What happened? The first trader had a temperament that fit the system. He was patient, highly disciplined, emotionally even. The second, impulsive, anxious, addicted to action, needed feedback now. The system didn't fail him. It just wasn't built for how he thinks, feels, and functions. So every time the setup told him, wait, his brain screamed, now. And that inner conflict, it destroyed every trade he touched, no matter how good the strategy was. The real problem is misalignment. Let's go deeper. If your nervous system is wired for constant stimulation, but your strategy is built on patience, you'll sabotage it. If your core beliefs say, I must always be in control, but your system requires surrender to probabilities, you'll break it. If you crave certainty, but your method thrives on ambiguity, you'll overanalyze, hesitate, or overtrade. In short, you don't have a strategy problem, you have a misalignment problem, and the more you ignore it, the more chaotic your results become. Until you finally blame the market and start the cycle over again, starring Garian, you don't need a better strategy, you need a mirror. Here's the turning point. Most traders are trying to fix outputs, their results, but they never look at the inputs, their identity, beliefs, behaviors. They think trading is about charts, but it's really about patterns, your patterns. The patterns in how you react when you lose, the patterns in how you justify rule breaking, the patterns in how you avoid responsibility. Until you look at that, no amount of edge, strategy, or win rate will save you because you're trying to fix the math when the real problem is the operator. The day it broke. I remember the exact day this hit me. I had just taken a massive loss, not because the setup failed, but because I forced a trade I had no business taking. My rules were clear. The setup wasn't there, but my ego was louder. I wanted to make back what I'd lost the day before. I wanted revenge, closure, a dopamine hit, and I got none of it, only more pain. That night, I didn't look at the charts. I looked in the mirror, and I asked the one question that changed everything. What if the way I trade is perfectly designed to keep me stuck? That question cracked the illusion because I realized every system I had ever used was built for someone else. And every time I tried to force myself into their mold, I lost more of myself. Build the system around you. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Stop trying to fit into someone else's trading strategy. Start building a strategy that fits into you. That means studying your own emotions, mapping your attention span, noticing how your body responds to risk, understanding what triggers your fear, greed, hesitation. It means treating yourself as the system, because once you know how you're wired, you can finally build a process that honors it. And when that happens, trading stops being a battlefield and starts becoming an extension of who you truly are. Coming up next, in the next part of this series, we'll dive into the hidden cost of following others and how copying someone's edge without copying their mind is the fastest way to burn out. But for now, ask yourself, am I trying to master the market or should I first master myself? Let that question sit, because everything changes from here. The hidden cost of following others. Let me tell you a secret no one talks about. Every time you copy someone's system, every time you download a trading strategy you didn't create, every time you try to become a replica of a trader you admire, you don't just borrow their tactics, you also inherit their thinking, their beliefs, their emotional DNA. And unless your nervous system, psychology, and risk profile are exactly like theirs, you're not learning, you're bleeding, slowly, quietly, tragically. The copy-paste trap. Let's be honest, most traders start the same way. We idolize someone. We watch their YouTube videos, buy their courses, join their community. We think, if I just do exactly what they do, I'll get what they have. It makes sense on paper. But here's the brutal truth. You can copy their trades, but you can't copy their psychology. You can't copy how they stay calm in drawdown. You can't copy how they handle boredom, doubt, fear, or the urge to overtrade. You can't copy the 8 years of emotional scars that taught them to sit still when your instincts scream, do something. There's an invisible tax to following others, and it's not measured in dollars. It's measured in delayed growth, emotional confusion, false self-confidence, and ultimately burnout. Because When you trade someone else's system, you're forced to fight two battles at once: the market in front of you and the internal war of trying to become someone you're not. That's exhausting. And worse, it's unsustainable. Why it works for them, but not for you. Let's dissect this. Say your mentor is a former Marine, hyper-disciplined, emotionally stoic, comfortable with high-stress situations. Their system is tight, fast, brutal, designed for scalping and high volatility. You, on the other hand, are analytical, reflective. You prefer structure, time to think, space to breathe. So what happens when you try to mimic them? Your body tenses, your mind panics. You second-guess every entry. You either miss trades or force them, and hate yourself either way. Not because you're weak, not because you're undisciplined, but because you're trying to trade like someone whose brain was built in a completely different way. Personal confession, my expensive imitation game. I've done it too. There was a time I followed a guru who made 6 figures scalping crypto. He was bold, aggressive, almost reckless, but it worked for him. I tried to do the same. Woke up at 2 a.m. for London sessions, tried to match his entries to the second, ignored my own instincts. At first it felt thrilling, then confusing, then destructive. I lost trades, but more than that, I lost clarity. I lost trust in myself. I lost the ability to hear my own voice. And that, to me, is the most dangerous thing of all. Because once you lose your internal compass, you become a puppet of the market and of people who seem more certain than you. Mirror versus blueprint. Most traders are looking for a blueprint. They want steps, setups, certainty. But what they actually need is a mirror, something that reflects back their strengths, their weaknesses, their habits, patterns, blind spots. Because the right trading system isn't something you copy, it's something you create from the inside out. When you follow others blindly, you outsource responsibility. But when you start building a system around who you are, you take back control. You stop saying, why doesn't this work for me? And you start saying, how can I make something that fits me? The real cost, time you'll never get back. Every month you spend trying to become a second-rate version of someone else is a month you're not becoming the first-rate version of yourself. And the longer you delay that shift, the more bitter, confused, and exhausted you become. You start blaming the market, then your mentor, then yourself. But the problem isn't any of them. It's the fact that you're solving the wrong puzzle. You're trying to unlock someone else's door with your key. It doesn't fit. It never will. The turning point, reclaiming your process. So here's the shift. Stop asking, what's working for them? Start asking, what feels true for me? What times of day do I feel sharpest? What types of trades drain me or energize me? What risk level allows me to sleep peacefully? What rules do I actually follow? And which ones do I constantly break? Because the answers to those questions, that's where your system lives. That's where your edge begins. The hidden cost of following others isn't just financial, it's psychological. It erodes your confidence, corrupts your instincts, and steals your most valuable asset as a trader, your self-trust. So if you've been trapped in someone else's blueprint, if you feel like you're always one step behind, not because of the market, but because you're walking a path that was never yours, then maybe it's time to stop following and start listening, because your system is waiting to be built. And the only architect who can design it is you. In part 3, we'll talk about why chasing the perfect system is a lie and how the brain's addiction to novelty is killing your consistency. But for now, ask yourself, what have I lost by trying to trade like someone I'm not? Let that answer wake something up inside you. The illusion of the perfect system. Here's a bitter pill to swallow. The more intelligent you are, the more likely you are to fall into the trap of chasing the perfect system. Why? Because your brain has been trained to believe there's always a better answer, a cleaner formula, a more optimal solution. That belief might serve you in math, coding, engineering, but in trading, it will destroy you. The search that never ends. Let's say you find a new system. It's shiny, logical, promising. You feel the dopamine rush of, this is it. First week, a few wins, excitement builds. Second week, a couple of losses. Normal, right? Third week, you hesitate, you second guess it. Fourth week, you ditch it, and the cycle begins again. This is called the system hopping loop, and it's one of the most sophisticated forms of self-sabotage in trading. It feels productive, but it's just fear in disguise. The brain's addiction to novelty. Your brain is a novelty-seeking machine. It's wired to chase newness because evolution taught it to explore. New strategy, dopamine hit. New setup, dopamine hit. New indicator, dopamine hit. But repetition, discipline, boring consistency, no chemical reward, which is why when a system becomes boring, you think it's broken. When in reality, boring might mean it's finally working. Because true edge in trading isn't exciting, it's repeatable. And your brain. Here's where it gets worse. Smart traders, especially analytical thinkers, fall into what I call the optimization trap. You get a system that's 60% profitable. Instead of building trust and consistency, you immediately try to improve entries by 0.2%, add filters, backtest to death, split hairs on exit conditions. You start tweaking a living system, like pulling petals off a flower trying to make it bloom faster, until eventually the system dies. Not because it was weak, but because you couldn't stop trying to perfect it. Story, how I killed my best system. Years ago, I had a system that worked. It wasn't sexy, it wasn't fast, it didn't promise 10-hour trades every week, but it made money, quietly, consistently. When I followed the rules, but I didn't trust it because it didn't feel perfect. So I started changing it, added indicators, filtered out setups, tried to eliminate every loss. Guess what happened? The system stopped working. Because I was no longer running the system, I was running my fear of imperfection. What perfection is really hiding? Here's the harsh truth. Chasing the perfect system is a subconscious way to avoid responsibility. Because if your system isn't perfect, then every loss can be blamed on it, not on you. I just need a better entry. I should optimize my RR. My edge isn't strong enough. Sounds smart, right? But underneath it all, it's just you. Refusing to commit. Refusing to surrender to the process. Refusing to accept that no system will save you from doing the emotional work. The real question is this: can you stay loyal to a system even when it doesn't feel good? Because that's the test. Not how well it performs on good days, but how you behave when it underperforms, when it makes you wait, when it loses 3 times in a row, when it forces you to sit out while everyone else is printing. Will you stay or will you run? Because that decision, more than any strategy tweak or indicator, is what determines whether you'll ever build real edge. Reframing perfect. Let's redefine what a perfect system really means. Not the one with the highest win rate, not the one with the fanciest logic, not the one that makes the most in backtests, but the one you can execute consistently. The one that matches your emotional bandwidth, lifestyle, risk tolerance, cognitive style. The one that doesn't require you to become someone else to use it. That's not perfect by theory. It's perfect for you. Perfectionism in trading is just procrastination wearing a suit. It looks smart, it sounds responsible, but it keeps you stuck, endlessly preparing, never executing. So if you're still searching for the holy grail, if you're addicted to tweaking, testing, tuning, step back. Ask yourself, what am I actually running from? Uncertainty, responsibility, the need to be right. And then remember, the market doesn't reward perfection. It rewards consistency. And consistency only comes when you stop searching and start committing. In part 4, we flip the mirror and dive into your psychology as the foundation of your system. Because before you build charts and rules, you need to know the human that system is being built for. And that human is you. Know thyself. The first system is you on most church foot. Before you talk about candlesticks or entries or RR ratios, you need to answer one question. Who are you when money is on the line? Because no trading system matters if the person executing it doesn't know how they operate under stress, under uncertainty, under risk. Your mindset, your emotions, your impulses, They're not separate from your system. They are the system. Let that sink in. Your first real trading system is you. Your brain is the platform. Every strategy you use is filtered through one machine, your brain. But here's the problem. Most traders are running systems that were designed by people with completely different brains, personalities, and emotional wiring. That's like trying to install iOS on an Android. It might boot, but it won't work. Because if your mental operating system is full of fear, control issues, impatience, or need for stimulation, you'll distort every system you try to run. So what's the solution? Install the right software on the right hardware. That means understanding your psychological blueprint before you even think about building technical rules. Trader type is real. Let's simplify this. There's no universal best strategy, but there are better matches for your trader type. Here are a few examples. 1, the intuitive reactor, high emotional reactivity, quick instincts, good at scalping, momentum plays, struggles with holding trades or following rigid rules. 2, the analytical planner, loves structure, hates surprises, thrives in swing trading, back-tested systems, overthinks, prone to paralysis by analysis. 3, the risk addict, feeds on action, fast gratification, needs clear, aggressive system with strict boundaries, vulnerable to revenge trading and over-leveraging. 4, the silent executor, calm, low reactivity, routine-focused, good with trend following and rule-based systems, may lack urgency or struggle with discretionary decisions. Do you see yourself in one of these? If not, that's the first assignment. Observe yourself. Start tracking not just your trades, but your emotions during them, because your journal isn't just for price action. It's for pattern recognition of the self. Know thyself is more than philosophy. It's risk management. Here's the reality. You don't blow accounts because of a bad trade. You blow them because of how you respond to a bad trade. Do you spiral? Do you double down? Do you shut down? Until you map those reactions, no system will save you, because the real drawdown isn't financial, it's psychological. So next time you take a loss, don't just look at the chart. Look at what thoughts fired, what did your body feel, what rule did you almost break? That's where the edge begins. Personal confession, I was trading a lie. For years, I told myself I was a strategic trader, that I was methodical, calm, patient, but my trade log told another story. Entries too early, over-trading on Mondays, breaking rules after wins more than after losses. Turns out I wasn't strategic. I was emotional, but good at rationalizing. That realization broke me and then freed me. Because only when I saw the lie I'd built my identity on could I start building a system that respected the truth. Build around your reality, not your fantasy. It's easy to fall in love with a version of yourself you wish existed. The calm sniper, the ruthless risk manager, the disciplined master. But if you're not there yet, pretending won't get you closer. Instead, build for who you are now, trade within your emotional bandwidth, create rules that help you stay grounded, not rules you keep breaking, because every broken rule chips away at your self-trust. And once that's gone, you're just gambling with fancy words. Designing your psychological dashboard. Here are 5 key variables every trader should track about themselves, more than they track price. 1, emotional volatility. Do you overreact to small P&L changes? 2, impulse response. How often do you take unplanned trades? 3, recovery time. How long does it take to reset after a loss? 4, rule adherence rate. What % of your trades followed your plan exactly? 5, cognitive bandwidth. How many charts, timeframes, or positions can you manage before fatigue kicks in? This is your trader's fingerprint, and without it, you're flying blind. Final word. Every trader wants to talk about setups, about edge, about risk to reward, but none of that matters until you understand the machine behind the mouse, the voice behind the trade, the person behind the system. That's you. So before you go searching for your next indicator, take 1 hour and study the system you've been running your entire life. Because the moment you understand that you are the first system, you stop reacting and start designing. In part 5, we'll explore how to build a system around your nervous system, not against it. Because if your strategy creates anxiety, exhaustion, or emotional chaos, it's not a system. It's a time bomb. Let's fix that. Together, designing a system around your nervous system. Wrong. Let's get brutally honest for a second. If your trading system makes you anxious, if it spikes your cortisol, if it leaves you exhausted, agitated, or emotionally fried, that's not a system. That's a slow psychological suicide. Because no matter how good your strategy looks on paper, if your nervous system can't tolerate it, you won't follow it. Or worse, you'll follow it and burn out in the process. Your nervous system runs the show. We like to think we're rational beings, but in reality, we're reactive machines with a logical story taped on top. Every trade triggers signals inside your body: fight, flight, freeze, or mode. You see price drop, your heart rate spikes. You miss an entry, your jaw tightens. You're down on the day, your vision literally narrows. All of this is your nervous system scanning for threat. And when it perceives a threat, it doesn't care about your strategy. It goes into survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you don't trade with skill. You trade with instinct. And instinct is rarely profitable. And nervous system overloads. Why traders self-destruct biologically? Here's the punchline no one teaches you. Most trading errors are not mental. They're nervous system overloads. Overtrading, impulse entries, closing trades too early, revenge trading. These aren't flaws in your thinking. They're symptoms of dysregulation. Your brain knows the rule, but your body is screaming, "This doesn't feel safe, get out!" And in that state, logic loses. Technically sound. My breaking point, the healthy system that made me sick. I once built what I thought was the perfect system. High win rate, precise rules, technically sound. But it required me to watch 6 charts at once, jump on setups in under 30 seconds, and manage trades tick by tick. Know what happened? I got results. But I also got chronic tension headaches, anxiety every morning, a feeling that my life was shrinking around my system. I wasn't trading the market anymore. I was surviving it. Until one day, I realized a system that makes me sick, even if it makes money, is still a bad system. And step 1, align your system with your stress threshold. Everyone has a window of tolerance, a zone where you can stay emotionally balanced and logically functional under pressure. The moment you leave that zone, you get reactive, you lose discipline, you sabotage yourself. So ask, how many positions can I manage without tension? How long can I sit at the screen before my focus declines? What size of loss creates panic? What times of day am I most emotionally stable? These aren't soft questions. These are risk management tools for your biology. Design principles, nervous system friendly systems. Here's how to reverse engineer a system around your nervous system, not against it. 1. Time frame selection equals stress matching. If fast charts make you impulsive, go higher time frame. If waiting hours drains your energy, consider shorter swings. Pick a time frame that matches your natural attention rhythm. 2. Setup frequency equals emotional tolerance. High frequency setups equals more decision fatigue. Lower frequency, less stimulation, but more patience required. Find your sweet spot between boredom and overload. 3. Risk per trade, nervous system load. Not just about percent, it's about perceived threat. If you can't breathe when risking 2%, try 0.5%. Goal, risk should trigger focus, not panic. 4. Decision style equals cognitive profile. Discretionary equals more freedom, more stress. Mechanicals, more structure, less emotional load. Choose the structure your brain trusts under pressure. Regulation before execution. Even with a great system, if you're dysregulated before you sit down, that's why top performers in any field have pre-performance rituals, not superstition. Regulation. Trading requires the same nervous system hygiene as elite athletes, because this isn't just about capital, it's about capacity. Checklist. Build around. Ask yourself, do I feel more anxious before or after the trade? What's my resting state when I trade best? Calm, alert, focused? What physical signs tell me I'm entering tilt? Tight jaw, shallow breath, fidgeting, Can I design rules that act as emotional buffers, not just technical filters? This is the real optimization. Not backtesting to death, but building in a way that your body can live with. Trade for life, not just profit. A sustainable system isn't one you endure. It's one you can thrive inside. Because if you need energy drinks, emotional pep talks, and spiritual warfare before every session, that's not a career. That's a crisis, and you deserve better. Final word. You don't need to conquer your nervous system. You need to collaborate with it. Because when your system feels like safety, you stop reacting, you start responding, and trading becomes execution, not emotional warfare. Build a system that your nervous system can breathe inside, and the market will stop feeling like a battlefield. In part 6, we'll build on this by exploring rules, routines, and rhythms, how elite traders turn boring repetition into lethal consistency. Because once your nervous system feels safe, discipline isn't hard anymore. It's just who you are. Rules, routines, and rhythms. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And in trading, your system isn't just what's on the chart. It's what happens before, during, and after the trade. It's your rituals, your rules, your rhythm, because the market doesn't just test your strategy. It tests your state. Discipline is not a trait, it's a structure. Let's break a myth right now. You're not undisciplined, you're understructured. If every day you wake up and trade by feel, if your preparation depends on mood, if your review is occasional and optional, then you're not building consistency. You're gambling with focus. Elite traders aren't disciplined because they have superhuman willpower. They're disciplined because they've made discipline automatic. Think of it like this: from chaos to cadence. Trading success doesn't come from intensity, it comes from cadence. Think of it like this: a musician doesn't improvise the scale every time. An athlete doesn't invent a new warm-up each game. A surgeon doesn't go with their gut before operating. They follow a rhythm, because rhythm equals readiness. Rhythm equals resilience. Rhythm equals repeatability. And repeatability is what makes edge real. Your day is the system. Here's what no one tells you. Your trading system starts before the charts load. If your morning is chaos, your mind will be. If you enter trades with scattered energy, the results will scatter too. So let's talk routine, the glue that holds your execution together. Pre-trading rituals, priming the mind. Start with a launch sequence that brings you into focus. 10 to 15 minutes of silent prep. Review your plan, not the market. Breathe deeply, intentionally. Journal your current emotional state. What am I bringing into the market today? This is not optional. This is your firewall against impulsive behavior. You don't launch a rocket without a checklist. Why launch trades without one? To trade. During trading, micro-rhythms that keep you centered. Create structure inside the session. Check in every 30 minutes. Am I still aligned? Step away after each trade, even for 60 seconds. Keep water visible. Hydration equals mental clarity. Use a once mantra visible on screen. I don't need to trade, I need to trade well. Small cues, massive control. Rules that respect you. Now let's talk about rules, not rules to impress a mentor. Rules that protect you from yourself. Ask, what behaviors cause my biggest damage? What rules would eliminate 80% of that damage? Examples, max 3 trades per session. Stop after 2 losses. No trades within 15 minutes of news. No adding to losing positions. Daily plan must be reviewed out loud before first trade. You don't need 50 rules. You need 5 that are non-negotiable and brutally enforced. Story, the day a rule saved me from myself. There was a Tuesday I'll never forget. I had just come off a hot Monday. Felt invincible. Took a loss early, small, manageable, but I felt offended. Like the market owed me a redemption arc. Old me would have spiraled, but new me had a rule. If first trade is a loss, next trade must wait 15 minutes. I stared at the clock, watched 3 almost setups come and go, then the real setup formed, clean, confirmed. That rule made me $2,800 that day. More importantly, it saved me from a $5,000 mistake. After trading, rituals of closure, how you end matters. Don't just shut the laptop and disappear into TikTok. That leaves emotional residue, clutter, energy leak. Instead, log every trade, not just entry exit, but why. Label the day aligned, tilted, reactive, calm. Write a 2-sentence reflection. What did I do well today? What will I do better tomorrow? And then close the trading day emotionally and mentally. Don't carry it into your dinner. You're not your P&L. You're the operator, the architect, the one building the edge. Build your trading rhythm. Here's a framework to help you craft your rhythm. Phase, why it matters. Active session, wake up, breath, hydration, no screens, reset nervous system. Pre-market, journal, review plan, rehearse rules. Cognitive priming, active session. Execute with time blocks, step backs, maintain focus and control. Post-market, log, reflect, emotionally disconnect. Close loop, protect energy. Your trading rhythm is your nervous system's life support. Respect it or you'll burn out chasing setups with a fried brain. Why this works. Because when routine becomes rhythm, you stop overthinking. You stop emotional micro-decisions. You stop making trading bigger than it is. Instead, you show up, you execute. You review, you leave the fan, and then you repeat. That's what professionals do, not because they feel perfect, but because their system holds them when their mind can't. Final word, rules don't restrict freedom, they create it. Routines don't kill creativity, they preserve capacity. Rhythm doesn't make you robotic, it makes you resilient. Because the market is chaos, but your behavior doesn't have to be. You don't need more adrenaline, you need more structure. You need rhythm. And when that rhythm locks in, you don't just trade, you become a trader. In part 7, we shift into the next phase. Identity shift, from trader to system owner. Because when you've built rhythm into your day, it's no longer about following rules. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need reminding. Identity shift, from trader to system owner. You don't rise by forcing discipline. You rise by becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to force it anymore. That's the shift, from trying to follow a system to becoming one. Because until now, maybe you've been thinking like this: I need to follow my rules. I have to stick to the plan. I can't break discipline today. But every one of those thoughts says the same thing. This isn't who I am yet. I'm still forcing myself to act like it is. And that gap between action and identity, it's the real source of your inconsistency. The problem isn't willpower, it's identity misalignment. You see, if your actions say I'm disciplined, but your self-image says I'm impulsive, undisciplined, emotional, you're living in tension. And eventually, identity always wins. Always. Because we don't act according to our goals. We act according to our beliefs about ourselves. So the trader who still thinks he's inconsistent, reckless, or cursed by emotion will always find a way to prove that belief true. Even if he's been profitable for a month. Even if he writes affirmations. Even if he meditates every morning. Because deep down, he's still running the identity of, I'm not good enough to do this long term. My identity was my ceiling. There was a time I had 6 green weeks in a row. Every stat was clean. Risk control, trade management, execution timing, but I didn't feel proud. I felt afraid of losing, afraid of messing it up, afraid that this disciplined version of me was a mask and the real me would come back soon and ruin everything. And that's exactly what happened. In week 7, I imploded. Why? Because even though I acted like a pro, I still believed I was a gambler trying to fake it till I make it. The market didn't break me. My identity did. From doing to being. There's a moment in every serious trader's journey when the question changes. It's no longer, how do I become more disciplined? It becomes, who do I have to become so that discipline is just normal? That's the moment of identity shift, the point where you stop performing trading and start embodying it. Not as an act, not as a mask, but as a reflection of who you've chosen to be. Trading becomes self-expression. Once this shift happens, everything changes. Trading isn't stressful, it's structured. Mistakes don't define you, they inform you. P&L doesn't control your mood, it reflects your process. You no longer need to hype yourself up. You no longer fight urges. You no longer need discipline hacks because your behavior flows from your identity. And your identity is now, I am the type of person who honors my system because it's who I am. How to engineer the identity shift. Let's get practical. Here's a 3-step framework to shift identity, not just behavior. 1. Micro-proof, macro-hype. Stop trying to feel confident. Start building evidence. Every time you follow your rules, write it down. Every time you wait for your setup, log it. Every time you don't act on impulse, celebrate it. You're not trying to convince yourself. You're collecting proof, and eventually the data will overwrite the doubt. 2. Speak as the system, watch your language. Stop saying, I hope I can stick to my rules, I'm trying to be consistent, let's see how today goes. Start saying, I'm a trader who executes with structure. I only act when the system confirms. Uncertainty is part of the job, I move with it, not against it. Identity follows language. Speak who you want to become until it becomes who you are. 3. Environment reinforces identity. Your environment can shape or sabotage your identity. Ask yourself, does my workspace say serious operator or casual gambler? Do the people I follow reinforce the trader I'm becoming? Is my routine designed for growth or for comfort? You can't become a new person in an old environment. Upgrade your surroundings to reflect your new role. Because your identity isn't just internal, it's architectural. Consistency becomes character. When the shift lands, trading no longer feels like effort. It feels like integrity. You're not trying to follow your system. You're just being you. It's the same reason a Navy SEAL doesn't try to wake up early, or a surgeon doesn't try to wash their hands before cutting. It's not a decision, it's a reflection. That's where the trader becomes the system. Not someone who follows rules, but someone who is the rule. Final word. Discipline is the bridge, but identity is the destination. And once you become the kind of person who trades with clarity, consistency, and calm, you stop needing motivation, you stop relying on emotion, you stop searching for edge because you are the edge. The ultimate trading system is a trader who knows who they are and trades accordingly. In Part 8, Zero Emotion Execution, the Art of Detachment. Because now that your identity is shifting, it's time to master the ability to act without emotional interference. This is where things get real. Zero Emotion Execution, the Art of Detachment. Imagine this. You press the button, the trade is live, there's no heartbeat spike, no inner voice yelling, what if, no thrill, no dread, just action, clean, calm, complete. You close the trade, profit or loss, and your face doesn't flinch. That's not apathy, that's mastery. What zero emotion actually means. Zero emotion doesn't mean you don't feel anything. It means you don't act from emotion. You're not a robot. You will feel excitement, fear, hope, regret. But detachment means you don't let feelings drive decisions. You don't let them distort your system. You recognize them and still choose logic over impulse. It's not numbness or suppression, it's sovereignty. The most dangerous trader emotion isn't fear, it's over-involvement. The real killer isn't fear or greed, it's over-attachment to the trade, to being right, to protecting your ego, to needing the win. When you're fused with the outcome, you stop observing, you become the trade, and when it fails, you crumble. That's not trading. That's codependency with the market. Story, the trade that taught me attachment the hard way. One trade, perfect setup, sized up confidently, but I was attached to making up for last week. When it went sideways, I micromanaged, moved my stop, watched every tick, then it reversed and wiped me out. It wasn't a system failure. It was me becoming the outcome. The pain wasn't financial, it was knowing I acted from emotion. Emotion follows identity, but detachment follows structure. Calm isn't something you do, it's something your system enables. Detachment comes from clear rules, trusting the system, detaching self-worth from the trade. You don't need to control emotion, you need to prevent it from hijacking execution. How to train zero emotion execution. Part 1, posture over panic. Check your body. Shoulders tight, shallow breath, that's fight or flight. Take 3 deep breaths. Relax jaw. Physiology drives psychology. 2, narrate, don't judge. Don't say, oh no, it's reversing. Say, price is pulling back, no signal, system intact. Become the observer, not the reactor. 3, trade small enough to stay neutral. Size is emotional. If you can't breathe, you're bracing, not trading. Cut size until you feel nothing watching P&L. SAR 4, create a post-trade buffer zone. Don't go straight from trade to phone. Cool down ritual. Log the trade, name the emotion, ask, did I act from system or self? Don't punish, just observe. Warning, fake detachment is still attachment. Saying, I don't care while checking your phone every 30 seconds, that's denial. True detachment is, I care about the system more than the outcome. It's choosing process over proof. The deepest detachment, letting go of the need to win. You don't trade to win. You trade to express the system. Winning is a byproduct. And when you accept that, losses are just data. Wins are expected. You stop gripping and start gliding. That's not indifference. That's alignment. Final word. The market owes you nothing, but your system can give you clarity. Your emotions don't need to disappear, they just can't lead. When execution becomes expression, you don't trade to prove, you trade to practice precision. True detachment isn't emotionless, it's choosing structure no matter what emotion arises. In part 9, we explore what happens when detachment becomes second nature, when trading becomes breathing. That's the zone, that's the flow. Let's get there together. When trading becomes breathing, there comes a moment when you no longer feel like you're trading the market. You're simply breathing with it. You don't force discipline, you don't overthink rules, you don't fight urges, you observe, you respond, you release. Like breath in, breath out, execution. Let go. That's not automation, that's embodiment. It's not the absence of effort, it's the presence of alignment. From practice to pattern, think back. When you first learned how to drive, you probably held the wheel tight, looked at every mirror, second-guessed every move. Now, you drive while talking, thinking, singing, navigating, sometimes without even remembering how you got home. That's not carelessness. It's the integration of thousands of micro-corrections that became unconscious competence. And that's exactly what happens in trading, when repetition meets reflection. You've rehearsed your process so many times, with so much honesty and so much clarity, that it becomes rhythm. Not habit, not automation, but awareness flowing through pattern. What flow looks like in trading, you enter only when the system says so. No internal debate. You size appropriately, no emotional overreach. You accept losses instantly, no post-trade spiral. You end the session feeling clear, not depleted. That's not luck. That's trading at your nervous system's pace, with your mind, rules, and identity in sync. It's the zero friction zone. The day I first felt it, I remember the exact moment it clicked. It wasn't a big win. It wasn't a perfect trade. It was quiet. I took 3 trades that day, followed my system exactly. Lost 1, won 2. At the end of the session, I closed my laptop and realized I didn't overthink once. I didn't check the P&L mid-trade. I didn't feel tired. It was like my system traded me. That was the first day trading felt like breathing, natural, controlled, effortless, but not careless. And from that moment on, I knew the goal was never perfection. The goal was integration. What changes when you breathe with the market? You stop rushing. You start listening. You stop over-planning. You start observing. You stop proving. You start expressing. Trading stops being a battle of me versus the market and becomes a dance between data, discipline, and direction. You no longer react from fear or FOMO. You respond with clarity because your system is not something you follow, it's who you are. How to make this state repeatable? This isn't a lucky state, it's a trained one. Here's how to return to it, again and again. 1. Every flow state is primed, not stumbled into. That means wake up at the same time, prep in silence, review your rules like a ceremony, breathe before charts. Speak your identity out loud. I am the system. I execute what I've trained. Flow doesn't come to chaos. It comes to rhythm. 2. Log flow, not just trades. Most traders log entries and exits. Few log mental state. Start tracking. How present was I during this trade? Was there effort or flow? Did I feel time distortion? Was this a trade that felt like breath or like battle? These are the signs that you've reached alignment or that you've drifted. Let the journal reflect your internal chart. On a 3, exit like you never entered. One of the hardest skills in trading is emotional disengagement after execution. When a trade is over, release it. Don't rewatch it. Don't wish it different. Don't tinker your system to fix what was never broken. Just like breath, in, out, done. The next inhale will come. So will the next setup. Flow is not constant, but it is cultivable. Some days you'll feel off. That's okay. Flow isn't about always being in peak state. It's about knowing how to return to it. Like breath, you lose it when stressed. You reclaim it with awareness. So when you find yourself tense, scattered, tilting, don't force, don't fix. Just pause and breathe back in. When trading becomes breathing, you become dangerous. Not because you've become emotionless, but because you've become unshakable. Not because you never lose, but because losses don't distort you. You're not trying to win anymore. You're just expressing your system with precision. And when the market feels you're calm, it respects you because you're no longer reacting to it. You're coexisting with it. That's not performance. That's presence. That's power. The true goal of trading isn't control, it's congruence. Congruence between your system, your psychology, your actions, your identity. And when those align, you don't trade harder, you trade truer. And in that space, trading becomes breathing and you become free. In part 10, we arrive at the final truth. This is your edge, you. Not the market, not the strategy, but the system you've become. We'll close this journey by reframing what edge really is and why it was never on the screen, it was always in you. This is your edge, you. You've been searching for an edge, a holy grail, a signal, a system, something, anything that gives you certainty in an uncertain game. And maybe for years you believed the lie that the edge was out there, on someone else's chart, in someone else's PDF, buried in some overpriced indicator. But if this journey has taught you anything, it's this. You are the edge. Not the smartest, not the fastest, not the luckiest, just the most aligned. The full circle. Let's look back. You began with confusion, frustration, the endless cycle of jumping systems, chasing trades, blowing up discipline. Then you woke up. You realized your problem wasn't the strategy. It was the misfit between system and self. You weren't failing because you didn't try hard enough. You were failing because you were running someone else's software on your nervous system. And the moment you saw that, everything changed. The real meaning of system. It's not just rules and entries. A true trading system is a mirror. It reflects how you handle risk. It adapts to your emotional bandwidth. It matches your rhythm, beliefs, and identity. It's not something you follow, it's something you become. Because when your system is built around you, trading becomes not just profitable, it becomes sustainable. I've seen this transformation. I've watched traders go from lost to lethal, not by copying others, but by finally choosing to trust themselves. One of them journaled for 90 days straight, not just trades, but emotions, impulses, thoughts. He discovered that he wasn't impulsive, he was just bored. So we adjusted his system. Fewer hours, more structure, deeper focus. Now he trades 2 hours a day and is consistently green. Not because the system is magical, but because it's his. That's what this is about. Ownership, alignment, identity. The true edge isn't technical, it's personal. Let's redefine edge. It's not having a 70% win rate, timing entries down to the tick, reading price action like a prophet. It's this. Edge is the ability to execute the same high-quality process regardless of mood, market, or outcome. And the only way to do that is to build a system that fits you so precisely that trading it feels like breathing, not forcing, not hoping, just executing. Write this in your journal tonight. My edge is not what I know, it's what I can do again and again and again under pressure. That's where success lives. Not in prediction, but in repeatability. Not in intelligence, but in integration. Not in genius, but in alignment. And alignment begins with self-awareness and ends with system ownership. You built this, every part of it. The rules that reflect your risk tolerance, the routines that stabilize your emotions, the rhythm that calms your nervous system, the mindset that aligns with your identity. It's all yours, not borrowed, not copied, not artificial, yours. And now you trade with power, because power isn't quiet, it's stable, grounded. You don't need to impress, you don't need to prove. You just show up, execute, detach, repeat. You've become the system, not a trader chasing wins, but a system owner delivering precision. Final declaration: if you take nothing else from this entire series, remember this: you were never meant to trade like anyone else. You were meant to trade like you, fully, honestly, repeatedly. And when you do, you become the edge, the outlier, the rare trader whose success isn't loud, but inevitable. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. This is the end of the series, but the beginning of mastery. You've been given the blueprint, not for a strategy, but for a transformation. Now the real work begins. Revisit your journal, refine your system, test your edge, breathe through mistakes, rise through rhythm, become the trader only you can be. And when doubt whispers again, as it always will, you'll know what to say. I don't need to trade like them. I built this system to reflect me, and that is my edge. You don't just trade, you breathe it, you are the edge.